If you are elected and you learned that the government knew aliens had visited Earth and the public didn't know, would you want the public, would you ensure the public found out?
Well, it depends on what these aliens were like, and whether they were Democrats or Republicans.
A former astronaut who walked on the moon says aliens exist and that the government has been covering up incidents of contact for years now. Dr. Edgar Mitchell says aliens have visited our planet, and he believes the government covered up the discovery of an alien spacecraft in 1947, as well as 4 alien bodies that were found in the desert.
The reason for the denial was, number one, they didn't know if these were hostile and could we protect ourselves from them. Didn't want the Soviets to know, so they devised to lie about it and cover it up.
Well, Dr. Mitchell is a veteran of the Apollo 14 mission, and he walked on the moon back in February of 1971.
Years now, polling has shown that a majority of Americans believe the government, our government, simply isn't telling all it knows about those lights in the sky, whatever they are.
What's in these files?
Well, this is extremely exciting news here in the UK. It's a massive story. What we've seen is the first step in a 3 to 4 year program to release the government's entire archive of UFO files. Now, some of the material in there, and we've got just in this first batch about 2,000 pages of documentation. Some of it's quite mundane, but in amongst those reports, we've got some absolutely fascinating cases. A lot of UFOs seen by police officers. We've got some cases where pilots have seen UFO, and we've got a really amazing case where a UFO was tracked on military radar, traveling 10 nautical miles in 12 seconds.
It's a whole separate topic, which is a technological topic, because this man we're talking to now has told us about technology that we didn't know existed. You have actually the understanding, if you don't have the factory, to actually be able to make these machines, and you can also confirm that the powers that be on planet Earth actually have access to this technology and use it for all kinds of reasons. Is this correct?
As far as I can tell, there are a number of governments that have this technology. My feeling is, and or my knowledge is, that it's been acquired from people who came to this planet from off-planet, and it's been from the reading of a lot of ancient documents dating back as far as 6,000 years.
To the Sumerians?
To the Sumerians. I have a Sumerian document that's been translated that tells exactly how to build a flying saucer. And it's a direct translation. And it probably doesn't give everything, but it certainly gives the principles. And I've experimented with a number of those principles and find out that things take place that in modern physics aren't possible. I've never seen anything in writing that would lead me to believe that we had that kind of technology on this.
The attempt to cover this up and to disguise the issue and create misinformation and disinformation is very well recorded. And the documentation from very fine researchers like Dr. Robert Wood and his son Ryan, who've investigated all of the early documents, all point to the same story. Hey, we're not alone here when we've been visited.
So you confirm the secret government has these tools, they have the technology and tools. This technology for a long time. Yeah. Can you tell us secret technologies that make free ourselves when the secret government fall?
Well, there are technologies, of course, using the Casimir effect or the zero-point energy. That's a definite. I pointed it out in
exist.
It's a definite, and this is not even classified information. It's just you need to know where to go to see it. I'm talking about in government. It's not even classified, and neither is gravity shielding, which is similar to anti-gravity, but it's shielding. You take a material and you put it here, something above it, and it lessens it shields the gravitational force. This technology exists, and there are places you can go. You can go to xxx, .lanl.gov, losalmosnationallabs.gov, go to that website, and then do a little search, dig through their archives, their physics archives.
So we can have flying saucers in a short period of time.
Yeah,
using it.
You can have that. The thing is that we need to balance all this technology that is available or can become public. We need to first work on the spiritual and the sociological problems.
The British UFO Research Association had many reports over the years about sightings.
We have a substantial archive, actually. We have somewhere in the region of 12 to 15,000 case files going back as far as 1925. So it's quite a substantial amount of documentation, quite possibly more than the ministry itself has.
Is there ever going to be a disclosure that any of this stuff about UFOs or other races not born on Earth would ever get out to the public?
I've heard kind of through the grapevine that I know that Reagan was asked to disclose such things, the truth about flying saucers and alien people. I know that JFK was asked those things and said he would do something, and I know there was pressure put to bear on both of them to say nothing. I have heard that the current president was planning to make such announcements later in the year or late in the year. Who knows what's going to happen, but I've heard that that his desire, and I may be wrong, I don't know. I've heard it through the grapevine. The man hasn't told me himself. He was going to announce that that there are indeed such things as flying saucers, and there is indeed technology transfer, and there is indeed beings behind it that didn't come from this planet.
Studies have been done that, quote, clearly indicate the likelihood of an extraterrestrial explanation. But there are people sitting out there, I'm hoping there are millions of people watching at the moment, who are saying, this is nutty. Why do we even talk about such things?
The polls show otherwise, Shepard. CNN, Time, Reuters polls, last 10 years, consistently, 50% of all Americans believe the extraterrestrial explanation accounts for these sightings. Up to as many as 90% of Americans believe the government is outright lying. The polls are unambiguous. Year after year, the same thing. In fact, if you could talk anonymously to people, even in Congress, probably 50% of members of Congress already convinced that the extraterrestrial presence explains this phenomenon.
These black factions and such, these dark operations, they are very weak. They're very weak and powerless.
Really?
Yes, they're very weak, especially if you realize that we're living in a galaxy full of worlds and people like you and me, basically, and they already know what's going to happen. But they're watching this change happen now, and they're supporting it and helping gently and quietly behind scenes. And if you are aware of that, then you don't have anything to be afraid of.
Why are you so sure of that?
Because I've met so many of these people.
I'm seeing that what we're looking at is basically a very substantial defeat of the New World Order, which then will also eliminate their financing to continue to harass disclosure groups. I've come into possession with 2 new pieces of information, neither of which I can share. Extremely confidential, but both of which suggest that disclosure is absolutely going to happen, and it's actually being planned, completely separate from the Pete Peterson stuff. This all came in within the last 3 or 4 days. So I definitely think that they want to trigger off a second industrial revolution. I think they realize that disclosing the UFO phenomenon will do that for them. But what they don't realize is that the tertiary benefits to all the rest of us that they probably don't understand will so dramatically eclipse whatever industrial advantage and financial advantage they think this is going to give them, that it will create a paradigm shift.
Disclosure is at hand. It is very close, and the American people need to prepare themselves very soon for an announcement from our government that there is, in fact, an extraterrestrial presence engaging this planet and the human race.
All right. Well, there you have it.